looking off in the distance. I was like, I don't think I've gone to Disney.
No.
I mean, like, we went with them once, and then we went by our, like, me and you, our parent, like, our moms, like, what, our caretakers? Like nurses? Our nurses?
Hey y'all, it's Cass B. On today's episode of Not For Nothing, I'm sitting down with my cousin and best friend, Sadie Grace. We reminisce on our funniest memories together and cover toxic friendships and relationships. Sadie Grace, welcome to Not For Nothing.
Welcome back to Not For Nothing. This is episode 4, and this episode is going to be really special because I have my cousin Sadie with me today.
Hi.
And she's been staying with me for the past few days, and I'm so excited because we're like sisters, honestly, at this point. And we grew up together. So we have about 4 years in between us.
Yes.
So as I'm entering high school, she's entering junior high.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then as you're entering high school, I'm entering college. As I'm exiting college, you're entering college.
Exactly.
So we're always at the tail end of things.
Yes.
Which is cool, but at the same time, it's also bittersweet because I'm like, oh, I'm graduating. Like, I'm so happy to be done.
And then you're leaving.
Yeah. And then I'm like, I'm out. And then she's like, I'm so excited to be starting college. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Yeah. So we're never at the same place at the same time. No. But I think it's kind of cool how that works out. Yeah. So growing up, you have a sister who. Yes. How many years is in between you guys?
10 years. So she's quite a bit older than me.
Yeah.
But we're still super close. We're half sisters, but we're still super close.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're also definitely like sisters as well.
Because it was kind of hard, growing up, because y'all had 10 years, and then me and you had 4. And we were immature together.
Yeah.
So, as we're, Dakota, she was, kind of maturing, an adult, where we were, cutting up, being stupid all the time. So, we got away with it. So
And I think she only lived at home for, 9 years, obviously, while I was alive, I think.
Yeah.
So while she was 20, I was 10.
Now, do you think that y'all's relationship is closer because y'all are both going into being adults?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. She lives in Texas, so we FaceTime all the time. So I don't really get to see her in real life, which is tough and annoying. Because we're always I wish we could go out and get our nails done together, or do sisterly things. Mm-hmm. Even though we're 10 years apart, it doesn't affect us. Yeah. But it just sucks because she lives 20 hours away. But I guess it's great that I have you because you're 2 hours away. Yeah. So that's always been great.
And we've always semi-lived close. I mean, there maybe have been a few years in there where I lived in Texas, you lived in Valdosta, and then you moved to Texas shortly after, and then we moved back home, y'all moved back. So it was it was never really that far.
Which that was always interesting to me. I lived in Georgia and you lived in Florida at first, but then you moved to Texas, and then I was like, oh, that's so sad. But then my dad got a job in Texas, and so we moved to Texas. So we were in Texas together, 2 hours apart. And then my family moved to Florida because of my dad's job, and then you ended up coming back to Florida a year later, and we're 2 hours apart again. So it's I don't know.
It's always been semi-close. So it's always been a road trip.
And it's always just distance. Funny to me, how it's always like that.
Yes. And we talk about all the time of what would it be like if we lived in the same city? Yeah. And I don't know how it would be.
We would be heavily in debt.
That's so true. That's so true.
We would be heavily in debt.
We would. Yes. But also I feel like we would be getting on each other's nerves all the time. But now we know how to tolerate each other for 3 or 4 days is our max, and then we're like, okay, bye.
Yeah, we need a break.
Yeah.
I remember as kids, it would be a day or two, and I would need a break from you. Yeah. At least for me.
We still fight dirty, but we fought so dirty as kids.
I
sisters.
I make her mad. I do. I broke her. I did this as a kid. We're in her bedroom.
Thing Sadie would touch,
I would break. And she would get so mad at me.
I get so mad because I'm like, what do you have? It's this supernatural strength that she doesn't know she has.
I don't want it. I don't want
it. But she embodies it so well every single, and it's not anybody else's crap.
I always
it's just mine.
So bad because I truly don't mean to break things.
She does. She truly does. Even last night, I was like.
The blinds.
I said, can you go in there and close the blinds? I forget why, but I was like, can you go in there and close the blinds? Sure. And I was like,
and I'm twisting it, okay?
I said, great. I'm empowering you to go do something
the flipping rod
all of a sudden
comes off.
I hear it pop, and then I hear nothing but silence. And I'm like, it's coming. I know it's coming. And sure enough, she's like, Cass? And I'm like, that little mother fricker. I'm like, what? And I'm thinking, there's a list of possibilities. If you know, you know. I'm thinking bug. I'm thinking, like, there's a list. So I'm like, is there a person in there? I don't know. And I go in there, and
I'm literally holding the rod.
She's holding it out, and I'm like, you little why every time. And I'm like, honestly, and then
you got so frustrated, and then she like brought out like the bar chair and like
bar stool, and it wouldn't go over her suitcase, and I was like, I was like shoving it into the ground, and I got fabric glue, and then the fabric glue wouldn't work because obviously it's fabric glue. Then we use masking tape, like painter's tape up there, and it looks god awful. But I'm like, I have to open the blinds.
Now every time you look at it, you'll just think of me.
I'll think of you, all right. Why I oughta go down. I'm literally gonna go to town. So yeah, that's kind of the backstory of us in a nutshell. Let's go back to like when we were kids.
Okay. Yeah, my dad and her mom are siblings. By the way.
So yeah, so our mom and dad are siblings. So it's my mom and then her dad, but and then our moms are close.
Yeah, are really close.
And growing up, obviously, like we were always together. Like we just hit it off, of course, because Dakota was a little bit older and stuff. So
Disney. I feel like Disney was like Disney World as a kid. We went to how many times?
No, not that many.
Really?
Like, what, 2 or 3? I don't know where you're going with that. I was like looking off in the distance. I was like, serious? I don't think I've gone to Disney.
No.
I mean, like we went with them once, and then we went by our like me and you, our parent, like our moms, like what our caretakers, like our nurses, our nurses. Okay, we did go to Disney, like, but we went to like theme parks.
No,
like,
I mean theme parks. That's
not really just Disney. Yeah. We did a lot of things because we would have to travel in from out of town.
Yes.
So like we would meet up in like Katy, or like we would meet up in like different cities and like do stuff together. But it was always like activities. So it was like the jumping place, or like it was, you know, like a theme park or whatever. Because we were hard to entertain. Like we have like
there are a lot of pool parks and like pool parks. Water parks. It's all the same thing.
I've never heard somebody say a pool park. It's gonna be so good.
Oh. I was like, what did you randomly say? So
a lot of road trips.
A lot of hotels.
A lot of hotels. And I think that
a lot of root beers.
Oh gosh, a lot of Pringles. We have a lot of stories that we could share, but I think growing up, it was cool because, like, I'm an only child. So, like, I was able to have a sibling through you. Yeah. And then I could always look forward to it. Like, we were pen pals. Like, we would mail each other letters all the time. Yeah. And then, like, I think we went through a weird phase of, like, mailing each other rocks. You remember that? Was it rocks? Or, like, it was something we used to
I don't remember that. That was not me. You gave me a shoebox of rocks.
I know.
But you didn't mail me
those things. We would like mail each other stuff all the time. We
hand-me-downs.
Build-A-Bear.
I got a lot of hand-me-downs.
All of my stuff would go through Sadie and then Goodwill.
Pretty much like...
Which it went like that with Dakota and me too. So like when I was growing up, Dakota gave me her hand-me-downs, and then I would have them, and then Sadie would have them, and Sadie's like, wait, this was Dakota's. And I was like, I used it for a few years.
I was also going to say that I feel like as kids that'll sum us up is like you'd... Why are you looking at
I don't know. I'm so nervous.
Like, you'd dare me to do a lot of things, and when she dares me to do something, I usually most likely will do it. Even though, like, I feel like outside of our cousin relationship, I would never normally do something things we do.
It goes both ways. When we're separate, I feel like we're not as outgoing.
I'm very reserved.
She's very introverted in a sense. But then we get around, but I'm super extroverted. And then when we get together, I kind of like pull her out of her shell. And then I'm like, hey, I dare you do this. And then she does it. And then I'm like, Mom.
Yeah, and then I get tattled on.
We're talking like 10 years ago. Yeah. Yesterday.
All right.
But yeah, it was pretty cool, like having that dynamic growing up. And then I don't know, like being able to like go with each other. Like you would move, and then you went through a big move, and I would move, and I'd go through a big move, and then we had each other to kind of like lean on, and like we would talk on the phone, FaceTime, and play Minecraft all day long.
Roblox too, bro.
Roblox every Saturday and Sunday. We would literally stay at home all day long.
On the phone
from wake up to go to bed,
playing Roblox.
Hey, bro, I'm gonna call you back. I'm gonna go get something to eat.
Yeah.
Okay, me too.
Okay.
Are you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. And then we get back on, like literally every single day. I don't know how like we did that. We racked up them Wi-Fi minutes, I guess.
We're OG Roblox players. That's all I gotta say.
Roblox FF?
FF, bro.
FF.
It was like a knockoff Minecraft app.
Do you remember that Marvel game that was like where you created your own like world or whatever? That was so sick. We were iPad kids. But it wasn't because like you had to put a tablet in front of us for us to behave. It wasn't like that.
We're like hanging out on Roblox. Because that was the only way for us to hang out because it's our only friends.
No, like it was like we could be long distance but then still be gaming together and like so we weren't like, it wasn't like, oh, put an iPad in front of Cassie and Sadie so they'll like behave. No, like we were like, we misbehaved no matter what was in front of us, but like that was how like we kind of communicated or whatever growing up. And then we both moved, so she moved back to Tallahassee, so that's where she's from now, and then I'm still in Jacksonville, so there's like what, a good like 2.5 hours. And now we've gotten to the age where like I'm 23, she's 19, and we're now becoming like comfortable driving. So now it's like, wait, we can actually,
we're adults now.
Yeah, we're adults now. So like we can actually like go up and see each other.
We don't have to wait and you have your own apartment. A parent.
Thank God. I have my own apartment.
I have,
So yeah, that was kind of us as kids. And then now that we're like adulting, like you're in
sophomore year of college.
Yeah, sophomore year of college. I'm out of college. Never want to go back and working, you know, full-time job. So that's kind of where we're at. And so it's like our first time kind of like, I don't know, adulting and like being able to travel and like do stuff by ourselves. And it's kind of cool. I kind of like that season of life.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about you. Enough about us. Let's talk about like your faith and stuff. So you went to a Christian school all your life, or just high school?
Okay, so the first school I ever went to in Georgia was a Christian private school. I went to that school all up until 3rd grade, and then we moved to Texas, and I was in a public school 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and then I moved to Florida here, and that was 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th was all Christian private school. So I had like a good 4-year gap where I was in public school, but it didn't like affect me. I was baptized when I was 11 or 12, I believe. So that was whenever I was in Texas. We went to a really good church.
Do you think that being in a private school or a Christian school for high school, do you think that like shaped your faith in any way?
Yeah, for sure. I think like friend-wise, for sure. Because if I went to like a public school, there's no telling like what crowd I would have been with. Not saying like I'm a bad kid or anything, just like I'd fall into maybe something. Don't even do that. I might fall into like a crowd or something that you know what I mean. I might
go down a path I didn't mean to go down.
Whatever. Which, like, not saying that Christian schools don't have bad kids. Like, there definitely is. But I don't know. I feel like, and also my class all throughout high school only had like 20-ish people in it. So I had a very small class, and I knew everybody, and everybody knew me, and like pretty much like I knew the whole high school, and the whole high school knew me, kind of thing. And yeah, I feel like I had a good group of friends. I think pretty much my whole class was like great. Like they weren't like, you know, out drinking or partying or like doing bad things or like things that I might
gotten like caught up in.
So
it kind of like protected you from that exposure.
Yeah. And they were really great people too, and I feel like if maybe I did something like that, they would somewhat like hold me accountable, I guess, because we were all really close. But yeah, I think if I went to a public school, especially in Tallahassee where I live, that public school is so big, and there's no telling who I would have been friends with. There's no telling what parties I would have been invited to, or what I would have seen or heard or whatever. I'm definitely grateful I went to a Christian school. A lot of people say like it shelters you, I guess, but I really didn't feel sheltered. Like I didn't feel like I was, you know, not being told about something out in the world or something. Like I'm pretty prepared. Like I'm not going to be surprised when I see something like that aren't typically like my morals, I guess. Like I'm not going to be like, oh, what is that? Like
it's not
whatever.
like the homeschool culture where you never see it. Like we definitely see it. It's just not.
Yeah. It's not like what we do or what we
involve ourselves in.
Yeah. So, I'm pretty grateful I went to a Christian school, especially high school.
Let's kind of talk about, I guess I don't know if we've ever really like talked about this before. I don't think we've ever really like talked about this or like processed this out loud, but like we've kind of like made jokes about it because like our coping mechanism is like dark humor.
Yeah.
So like we've kind of talked around it. We've just never really like addressed it, I guess. But like probably like 8 or 9 years ago, we've talked about, or something happened in our family.
I can't believe it's been that long.
Has it really been that long?
I think so.
So our grandparents got divorced, which when we were growing up, like they were kind of like the sole grandparent, at least mine. Like it was a big like, I don't know, the grandparents of our family.
Yeah.
And they got divorced. And I think that kind of like shifted I think that kind of made us stronger, our parents kind of stronger, because now like it wasn't just, okay, we have to come into town to see the grandparents and I just so happen to be there, you just so happen to be there. It was now we're making a conscious effort to see each other. Yeah, to get each other because of that divorce. Do you remember like how your parents told you and like?
Oh my gosh.
Because it was the shared grandparents that we have.
I can't believe it was 10 years ago.
I think it's been that long.
I would have been like 9, 10.
That makes sense.
So I don't really. Of course I remember them being together, like, and that was like them, like the OG like grandparents. I just remember one day like moving out or something happening like that, and he was living in a condo, and I don't think I thought really much of it. I don't remember how I was told. I think I was just kind of told,
assumed or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think my mom was like, they're just taking some time or whatever. I don't know. And I guess I figured it out eventually.
Because how do you really tell?
I don't know.
Like a young kid
I don't remember, honestly. But yeah, he moved out into a condo, and I didn't really see him much as I did, which she like pretty much got remarried like pretty fast.
I didn't really understand what was going on because I was leaving Florida right as the divorce was like finalized, and she got remarried. She literally told us like I'm getting remarried, and then we left. And then I think it affected my mom like really hard because like that's her parents, you know. I don't know how it affected your dad, but
my dad doesn't show much emotion, especially about that kind of stuff. And plus, I was so young. I don't even think I don't even know if there was any emotion, honestly. I mean, obviously it's your parents and that sucked, but at the same time, like maybe it was for the better, kind of, you know what I'm saying?
It was better for them to be separated.
Yeah.
Was there any like tension going on?
Yeah.
Because I don't remember. I don't know. It might have been bad. Like who knows? Like it might have been awkward there at the end, and like it was probably for the best, but I wouldn't have known because I don't remember that. Yeah, but also I remember like very clearly, like there were kind of some like subtle, I don't even know if I would say subtle, but like there was kind of some like this is what happened from, well, especially this is, you know, how we feel about X, Y, and Z. And like that would kind of hurt taint my view of, and I didn't want to be around that and taint my view. And my mom didn't want that for me either. Yeah. She always was like, I want you to grow up and like you have your own relationship with him and you have your own relationship with her, and not let their divorce affect what you believe about them. And I'm really glad that she did that, because now I'm able to see like, okay, this is actually how it went down. And I think there's things that like we both don't have answers to, and I'm gonna be quite honest, I don't know if I ever really want those answers.
I don't know.
Because there's some things that we're like, wait, how does this timeline add up? And like there's some things where we're like confused about it. But I think that was kind of a monumental point in our friendship, like in our like individual lives, but also as a cousin relationship too, because our parents were like, okay, wait, like if we're not always coming to see them separately, now we have to add another house to go visit during the holidays or whatever. But then also we were like, wait, I much rather see Sadie than you know, like, so
it kind of worked out for the best, I guess.
Kind of made us closer in a way, I'd say. I feel like at that point it's like it is what it is, like we didn't really get a say, but at the same time, like that should be something like personal, that like you are like developing your new life. Why are you roping it? But at the same time, I'm glad that she did. Like now, like looking back, I wish things were different. Absolutely. Like I wish things were handled differently. But at the same time, I'm glad that she has somebody now.
Yeah. Because
but I think that back then it was just a lot to process as a young person.
Yeah. I don't even think I truly did process it until like now that we're talking about it. Cause like I think as a kid, I don't know how to explain this. Things happen and you don't really understand it until later on in life. I think you think about it and you're like, wait.
You reflect. We literally were just talking. We were getting ready the other morning and we were literally just talking about this. And I looked at you or maybe it was in the car, I forget. But we were talking about like healthy relationships and how like, who do you look up? Like I was asking her, I was like, who do you look up to like when you're dating somebody? And then we talked about it or whatever. And I was like, I don't know if I have like, I want to use healthy like very loosely because like I love my parents and I love my grandparents on both sides, but like I lost my grandpa like years ago, so like I only have my grandma on one side, and then on my other side my grandparents are divorced and then remarried, and then my parents, like they're married, but like parent relationship has their own faults and struggles. So like I was never able to actually like look up to and reflect a type of like love and relationship. And so I think if I were to say like how would it affect me, I think it would just be like, I think it just added to the pot of like relationships I can't look up to, because like, do we have any like healthy examples? Okay, so let's kind of shift. So let's talk about like relationships and stuff, because
we struggle with the same thing.
We're very similar. I'm very easy to get the ick. I'm very easy to be like, and you're done. And Sadie's very much the same way, but we also get the ick at the same time. But we also, like, recently, I'm really proud of us. Like, we've always been opposite of, like, she's like, oh, I like this, this, and this. And I'm like, the frick? I like this and that. And we don't, like the same people at all. Now that we're kind of getting that age, I think we're, like, starting to kind of see similarities in us.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think it crosses over in relationships, too, because we'll talk about, like, oh, my gosh, and then this. And she's like, oh, I definitely understand what you're saying. So it is refreshing for me to, like, be able to call her and be like, okay, I'm feeling like X, Y, and Z.
Be able to relate to someone.
And so, like, it's not like I'm going crazy.
Because I feel like the things that we struggle with is very abnormal and confusing. And it's very nice to have someone who struggles with the same thing to know, oh, I'm not crazy or I'm not going through this alone, because
we also you add an anxiety to it, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So now you're like, not only do I feel like I'm about to throw up my guts, but also, you gave me the ick, so I don't want to speak to you again. You know, relationships. So you dated a guy in high school.
Yes, he was my best friend. It lasted for like 8 months or something. I was the one who like ended things just because I think this is where like my anxiety started for some reason. Like, I broke up with him in August. I think my anxiety started in like that June or July, especially July, and I think it really affected my feelings for him, which sucked. And I really just fell out of feelings for him, I guess, and I feel like we kind of grew apart. I don't know if mostly that was my part, less of him, and so obviously I couldn't live, a lie saying I liked him and want to do things with him when I don't like you anymore, kind of thing, and I want to be more friends. So I broke up with him, and 10th grade, by the way, was like 5 years ago or something. For about 4 years we've been like on and off, not dating wise, just more like liking each other, and it's mostly my fault for the off parts. I sound horrible, gosh. I think I just really have a hard time, like, I think I like him, but then, like, I'm not attracted to him. I don't know if it's, like, an attraction problem and, like, vulnerability and, like, that kind of stuff.
I think we talked about it this morning, and you said it perfectly. You were like, I think I just love being your best friend rather than, like, dating you.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
and I think that's normal.
Yeah, I think I didn't want to lose him in a way, because if we weren't dating, we were still exes, and it's kind of hard to be best friends with your ex, kind of thing. Because,
wow,
yeah,
so unfortunate.
So if we couldn't be best friends because we were exes, I think I was still holding on to him by being like, I still like you, and lying to myself in my brain, I still like him. But whenever it got to be in person, or if I saw him, or like we were hanging out like this close or something, I'd want to throw up, get away from him. I don't want him to touch me. And I mean this in a friendly way. I love him as a friend. Like, he's an amazing person. Like, I have nothing against him. Just for some reason, I'm just not attracted to him like I once was, I guess. I don't know what happens, but it's like a switch to where I don't know how to describe it. Like, I truly don't. And it's really frustrating, but yeah, this past like year and a half, I've realized that this has been my problem. And so, I've let him go, and, I'm happy for him, and I think he's still a great guy. I have nothing against him, truly. He's living his best life, and I think that's the way it's supposed to be. I don't know what God has in his plan, of course, but I think it's the way it's supposed to be. We're still like a acquaintances. Like, if we see each other, we're going to be nice to each other. But it's not like we're still talking on the daily and, like, best friends or even friends, really. Which I think we both needed, because I think I was leading him on anytime I would try to open up or talk to him as a friend. And that whole relationship was overall, like, toxic, even though that's not what I wanted at all, because that's not what he deserves at all. I think it was good for us to stop being friends, which sounds horrible, but it's the truth.
I think that and somebody told me this recently, because I've been going through the same thing of realizing that you can't exactly be best friends with your ex, and I think that's heartbreaking, because you both agree of, like, we're going to be cordial, we're going to end things on good terms, and, like, you do end things on good terms, and then sometimes it's just for the best that, like, you don't communicate, and I kind of, like, was telling a friend this the other day, and she was like, first of all, like, you both heal individually, and, like, even my therapist was like, you can't personalize his healing and, like, say, like, oh, him doing X, Y, and Z is, like, him attacking me. Like, what he's doing is helping him heal, and, like, you have to respect that. But also, I feel like if you were to continue a friendship post-breakup, I think that there would be questions of, like, what you were saying of, like, is there more here? Yeah, are we together?
Like, it's just really confusing for both of us, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just overall really toxic, even though you don't want it to be like that, or you don't mean it to be like that. Your intention
is pure, like, we want to be best friends forever.
Yeah.
And then even...
You're just hurting each other.
Yes. The second week of my ex and I being broken up, I remember he was like, hey, did you get home okay? Like, are you getting home soon or whatever? And I was like, okay, I have to, unfortunately, be the bearer of bad news here. Like, I love him. I think he's a great guy, and I wish him nothing but the best in life. But at the same time, like, we were broken up, and I can't have somebody looking out for me that, like, isn't in that role anymore. You know?
That shouldn't be.
But then reverse, I can't be doing the same thing with him, where, like, I expect him to update me and tell me and stuff, because, again, we're not together anymore. And so, like, I feel like that line is really, really odd.
Yeah. And, like, especially being together for so long, it's really hard to, like, break that routine, I guess.
Well, I think you say, like, we're going to be friends forever, and, like, we're going to be friends post-breakup, and we're going to check in on each other, we're going to call each other, like, all this stuff, especially if you want to end on good terms. That's your intention. But then I think that you say that, I'm coming to terms with the fact that I think you say that because you want to lessen the blow.
Yeah.
Because I think I went through the whole of, like, no, like, we're going to be, like, best friends forever. So we're going to be friends after breakup. It's fine. You don't want to lose them as a friend. So you say we're going to be friends forever because you're scared to lose them as a friend. Like, what am I going to do without him in my life? And then, like, you realize that, like, you can live your life without him, and then you don't need him. And then it's like, wait a minute, like, I don't need you as a friend, I guess. So it hurts more. Yeah. Hurts less, I guess, in the process. But then you realize it kind of hurts more after, because you promise each other that.
Yeah. It's really confusing, but it's taken me, like, 5 years to understand everything, I guess, and it's still, like, low-key weird sometimes, but
I think that the ick is not immediate for some people. At least for me, there's sometimes where I'm like, okay, you're done, and then I, like, don't talk to you ever again. But I think that with our relationships, I think they're eerily similar in some cases, at least with, like, our feelings and, like, how they kind of, like, bubbled up to the surface, and like, but I think that it took us time. At least for me, it wasn't like an immediate, like, one day I woke up and I, like, got the ick and I was like, something's changed. I feel like it took me a while to come to terms with the fact that something changed. I think that's kind of similar to what you were saying of, like, something just clicked. And, like, I can't put my finger on when it happened. I can't tell you what it was, but I can tell you it was different after a while.
I don't know. I wish I could know why. Like, is it something from my childhood that, like, makes my brain, like, trigger a program
or
some way?
Or is it anxiety? Or, like...
Yeah, anxiety.
But also, it should be, like, normalized. That, like... And I think that people put a lot of pressure on, like, especially Christians, and I've said this before, of, like, if you're dating somebody, they're going to be your end game, and, like, they're going to be your husband or your wife or whatever.
I mean, like, those are our intentions,
that's
you know?
Your intention to date. Is like, okay, I want to make this person my husband one day because I can see us together. If you can't, you shouldn't be dating. Which, like, fair.
Yes.
But at the same time, like, it's okay to date somebody for a short time and be like, I can't see my future with you, and then end things. Like, that should be normalized. That. Yes. That's not hoeing around or, like, messing around with people. That's literally, like, figuring out what you want in life.
Yeah, and you learn a lot in that process.
Yes, you learn about yourself. So, like, I think that we spend a lot of time, at least we, like, as I say we as, like, a unit, like, we're dating one person at one time or something, but, like, I think we beat ourselves up a lot of, like, we changed, it's our fault, we broke up with him, whatever it is.
We're very much people pleasers.
Yes, empathetics. Empaths, I think is what it's called. But, like, I think we beat ourselves up a lot of, like, I want to make sure that they're okay, and I want to make sure whatever, but, like, we can't satisfy their feelings forever. Like, our feelings matter too. Yeah. To an extent. So, like, I don't know. I think that we blame a lot on ourselves, but, like, we need to normalize the fact of, like, people fall out of feelings, and that's normalized. Like, we don't need to, like, sit down and, like, go to therapy. Therapy's healthy. Don't get me wrong. But, like, what did I do wrong? What did it end? All that stuff. Like, I think people just normally fall out of feelings, so nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to normalize it. And, like, I think that's normal. I think it's okay, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's okay to not know why.
I think you don't need...
I don't know. Like,
I don't think you need closure all the time.
Yeah.
That's an unhealthy... I don't know. Not really unhealthy.
I don't know.
I think that's just maturing. Like, getting the last word.
No.
I talked about this on TikTok the other day. Of, like, I always wanted to be the one, like, when we fight, I'm like, okay, you suck. Like, I want to be the one that says the last thing. In relationships, I'm the same way. I'm like, I want to be the last word. I want to be the last thing. But then also at the end of the day, like, that's not always how relationships end. And I had to be okay with the fact of, like, not getting the last word, not getting closure. Yeah. Because sometimes if you have closure, I feel like it might hurt more. But then again, the questions of, like, wondering what happened and stuff, they eat you alive too. Yes. So, like, not in the relationship sense, but in the friendship sense. So, like, obviously, like, your relationship wasn't toxic because, like, you had a good guy and, like, Christian guy, y'all, like, shared values and morals. And, like, that's just another proof of, like, if you're dating a Christian guy, a guy that shares morals, went to a Christian school, all these things, that's just another proof we both have that, like, we both dated Christian guys and, like,
those guys weren't for us.
Meaning, like, you can date a Christian guy and he doesn't have to be the one for you. Like, that's normal. So, like, don't think that, like, the second you date a Christian guy, he's going to be your forever.
With him.
Yeah, because that's not healthy to think like that. So let that just normalize, because somebody out there might be like, he's my everything because he's Christian. Like,
there's other guys out there.
Yes, I know a lot of Christian guys that are, like, not the greatest guys. So that's not, like, a one and done deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so since you didn't date a toxic guy, can we kind of, like, pivot into toxic relationships as in toxic friendships? Have you ever had somebody of, like, has created anxiety in you? Like, so we talked about ending relationships. Have you ever had to kind of, like, walk away from a friendship or a relationship or anything like that like was toxic to you or had negativity in your life, and how did you handle it?
Yeah, so friendship wise, for sure. I had a friend 7th and 8th grade, which at that time, in middle school, she was a pretty good friend. I didn't have many problems with her. Mostly towards the end of 8th grade I did. She was a great best friend for the time. But towards the end of 8th grade, started acting and doing things that I didn't want to do, I guess. Not really with my morals, I guess. Especially in, like, 9th grade, which she went off to a public school. She got in the wrong crowd, drinking, going crazy with a bunch of guys, doing things she shouldn't be really doing, and all that stuff. And she was, trying to cling on to me as a friend. And I'll say, like, I definitely, like, started, every once in a while whenever I was around her, like, saying a bad word, like, or whatever, which is kind of silly to say, but, like, you know what I'm saying?
But it's an influence. Yeah. Like, it influences you.
Yeah, an influence. Sure. And, I didn't like that. And she was kind of downgrading me in certain ways that I didn't love. And I just didn't feel like she was my friend anymore. Because we were good, like, best friends for, like, a year or two.
You were really close.
Yeah. I just slowly stopped talking to her. And she had a whole bunch of other friends she talked to. And I had a huge group of friends. So I just slowly walked away from that, and I'm glad I did. I think the main friendship that really, like, caused me anxiety was in 9th grade. I had another friend.
So this was a transition out of that toxic friendship into this one.
Yes, which I thought would be better for me, I guess. But
also because this select individual was Christian.
Yes, very hardcore Christian, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, or I don't want them to take that the wrong way.
But I also think that you can't, like, I think people think that, like, you can't have a Christian friend that isn't toxic. Like, there are plenty of Christian friends that you can have that create negativity and toxicity in your life.
And she definitely caused a lot of anxiety. And I'd say we were friends, like, really friends for that 1 year in 9th grade. And that was mostly because I didn't have anybody else. I just got done being friends with that other girl who went to another school.
Like, you had the same morals, you had the same like, things, like, you wouldn't be tempted, like, all that stuff. Yeah.
And so, 9th grade was okay. Like, she's not my favorite person, but she's a good friend to have. And then 10th grade came around. I started having my boyfriend that I was dating at the time. And that's mostly completely when she just switched. She thinks that she's on a whole other level than me, and it's okay for her to let me know that and degrade me and like make me feel like I'm doing something wrong, like I'm a terrible person, that I should feel bad about doing something even though I really shouldn't. And so I graduated, and I basically just told her peace out. Like, I'll be nice to you, but I'm not hanging out with you. I'm not doing this. Like, we're not buddy. Like, I'm not hanging out with you because you degrade me and you hurt me, you know? So I just didn't want to go through all that in my college years, because now I'm an adult. I don't have to be with you all the time because we're going to separate colleges. It's my choice. I don't want to be friends with you.
How has that like friendship kind of molded, if you have any walls towards potential?
Now I'm best friends with a girl I used to go to high school with, who was in the class of 20, that I used to not, be friends with. We just didn't really click. But until after we graduated, she asked me to come work out with her. And ever since then, it's been a year and we're best friends. And she, in the beginning of our friendship, especially over text, if she's like, making plans with me or something, I'll like make a suggestion and be like, only if you want, or we don't have to, like trying to make up an excuse of like, we don't have to, like trying to people please, I guess. And so she would always be like, why are you doing that? Like, like you don't have to be worried about X, Y, and Z. Like, I'm not like that. I won't do that to you or whatever. And so I'm like, oh, I guess I don't realize like I'm trying to defend myself, kind of. I don't know. And so definitely, like till this day, like I'll do things and she'll like catch me on it. She's like, I'm your friend. Like I'm here for you. I'm not here to I have your best interests at heart, kind of thing. And so which like in a good way, those past relationships, like those friendships, like shaped me. I like learned from those things, I guess.
Did you learn about yourself specifically?
Yeah. So I'm grateful for those friendships in a way.
Usually I ask, like to kind of wrap it up, I kind of ask like what you have went through in your life that was not for nothing, that you kind of pinpoint. And it doesn't have to be relationship or friendship based. It can be like anything in your childhood or whatever. But I want there to be another question in there, and I want both of us to answer, because I think it's cool, because like, like she's like a sister to me, like my cousin. So that I want it to be different this episode. So what is one memory of us that is your favorite? And it can be as feral and as foul as it needs to be. Or it could be completely G-rated, because we have a lot of memories that like are definitely like foul. But like, what is your favorite memory of us as a child?
We were just talking about this the other day. Definitely the day in Texas where we went to Build-A-Bear. Is that the question? Am I answering that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your favorite memory?
Yeah, my favorite memory is definitely us in Texas. Mm-hmm. We were visiting Galveston for the day. You remember better than me.
So we got to Build-A-Bears.
Yeah.
And then we went to the Rainforest Cafe.
Rainforest Cafe, which was like our iconic thing to do back in the day in Texas. So we went to Rainforest Cafe a lot, and
they had a ride there at this one. Remember when we got on the ride? It's like a roller coaster, but it really wasn't. It didn't pick up speed. It was just in the water. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. That was the same day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then we drove around. Didn't we go to like the Galveston like fair thing?
Pier. Yeah. And we did roller coasters. I think, that day.
That was really fun. And then I remember on the way home, we were riding in your mom's old car, and we were listening to Cheese 'em, Cheese 'em, Cheese 'em, got 'em on my mind. You remember that?
Yeah, because your mom was obsessed with that back then. Yeah.
What is yours?
So I'm going to go like real deep in the archives. So Sadie and I and our moms went to the and
you always pull this out of your butt.
Always, and it's so good. It gets better every time. We went to the it's like in a dome. Like it's all like I want to say inclusive, but like you don't ever leave the resort unless you need to.
Just
like they have shops and restaurants, everything, and it's like in a dome, like outdoor but indoor, like crazy.
Yes.
So for some odd reason, our parents decided to book us a really, really nice room that had a balcony facing the dome, where like people would be walking underneath, like walking the pathway to like a restaurant or whatever. Sadie and I decided that we're gonna go stand out on the balcony. So we go, and we're eating Pringles at the time, because we were like a hoe for Pringles back then. I don't know what the deal was, but we had these like little cans, like little like plastic things.
Yeah.
And we peeled it back. We were eating it, and all of a sudden, I don't remember
who
got the idea. Don't blame it on me. Don't blame me.
You
don't
dared me.
do it, because I think we both had the idea.
You were like,
the idea.
You were like, what if we threw the
she likes
into
to
the
turn
fountain?
this crap, and I think we both the fountain.
Yeah, there was a fountain right there. Do you not remember that? And people were sitting on the edge of it.
No, I don't remember that. I just remember there was like a really long pathway right there, and we would drop these. We would drop these cans. We drop. No, there's no you. There's a we.
I'm not even gonna defend myself.
We would drop these cans down on these people's heads, and people would be walking by, and they'd be like, "What was that?" And they look over, and like, there's a Pringle can sitting on the ground.
No, it wasn't the can. It was the Pringle itself.
No, we dropped the whole thing.
Are you serious?
Yes, we did. We did multiple of them, and I was like, "What on earth?" So then we were like cracking up about that. Part 2 of this is within the same trip. Sadie and I are like pool hoes. Like, we love a good pool.
It's
like, we grew up in the pool. Like, we were water kids for sure. So we go down to the pool, and the pool was immaculate. By the way, we've seen, like, we can rate some really good pools. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we had the underground one with the speakers that time. That, like, we could go under and hear the movie underwater. So cool. Anyways, this one was pretty cool, too. I think we might get, like, will we get sued for this if we tell the story?
I don't know what you're about to say. No, we won't get sued.
Are you sure? This is, like, X-rated, you guys.
If we do, we'll get famous from it.
Okay, so Sadie decides that
I really had to pee, okay?
And Sadie really had to pee. We go up, like...
Our parents were in the hotel room.
They were. Walking back to our room, and our parents weren't in the room. We didn't have the key. Sadie turns to me, she's like, I've got to pee. If you know Sadie, she's always peeing. Like, she has to go to the bathroom all the time. And so I'm like, there's no way we're going to be able to get in our room in, like, a timely manner.
I stay hydrated.
So I never see you drink water.
Don't worry about it.
Anyway, so Sadie's like, I really have to pee. So I'm like, I think I was hungry at the time. And I'm like, I think I'm really snacky. So we go in the vending machine.
She dared me.
That?
No, you definitely.
No, bro, I did not. No, I think you swear you. No, this is
that you dared me.
I don't. Maybe I said it'd be so funny if, and then you just like
that's
did it.
low-key a dare.
That's in my book. So we go in this room, and like it was a room that like might have had like an ice chest and a vending machine and something else. And so Sadie goes in and she's like, I really gotta pee, bro.
By the way,
like,
we're in our swimsuits.
We're in our swimsuits.
So we're still wet.
Sadie decides that she's gonna like squat down and urinate by this. She's gonna pee by this vending machine. Decides to like unleash it, right? And I'm like, there's no shot this is happening right now. I'm like dying laughing. And then I'm like, and then it hits me of like security cameras. There's 1,000% security cameras in this biatch. So then I look at Sam, I'm like, we've got to make a run for it. So I remember us running. I don't remember where we ran to because we didn't have access to our room. So I don't know where we were going.
Of my life.
She really enjoyed that. And forever, that's been our secret that we've held like really close to our hearts. So I just wanted you guys to know.
My parents don't even know about that.
My parents don't even know about it either. Oh. That was a like peak of our childhood, like of our relationship.
That was definitely number one.
I think that's probably one of my favorite memories of us. We have a lot though. There's been like a lot of different ones that like there's sunburn in a neon yellow dress at our grandpa's place and like too many root beers that night and like there's a lot of different memories we can pull up. Yeah. But I think that's one of my top ones.
We could tell story for days.
We should just do like a childhood episode.
I'm so down.
That'd be so funny.
I'm so down.
Okay, so the second question I have to end is, what is something that you can look back on, whether it's mission trips, whether it's your parents, whether it's something in your childhood, whether it's something between us, whatever, that you can say like that was not for nothing. Like you could see like I went through this in order for this to happen, or in order to feel this way, I had to go through that. What is one thing that comes to mind in your lifetime? It could be childhood or now. It doesn't matter. I also want to say this, that like I want to bring my Aunt Karen on, which is her mom.
She would be crazy.
She would be crazy, and it'd be the best ranked episode ever. But also, she has like such a great testimony that I want her to share.
Yeah.
But I think Sadie is a result of that testimony, so like hearing it from her perspective would be cool.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my not for nothings. Is definitely my mom. Her her existing in my life has been. It's just, she's great. She's my best friend. But her first husband, which is my sister's dad, she's my half sister. He passed away serving the country many years ago, and she, a couple years later after his passing, found my dad, and now I'm here.
I like to say that I also am in a way grateful for. I don't want to say like grateful for his passing because like, that's weird because we're not grateful for that, but I'm grateful for the way that God allowed everything to happen the way that it did, because without that I wouldn't have Sadie in my life, and
you wouldn't even have my mom, you wouldn't have Dakota, there's
like my childhood would be like
completely different. Like you might have a different cousin right now.
Like I have cousins, you have cousins, and like none of those relationships are anything like ours. Yeah. So like I think it'd be dramatically different, but also I learned a lot from you and like still do that. Like, I think you've shaped me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, for sure.
So like, I think that would look a lot different. So like, in a way I'm grateful for what she went through and what had happened. But I think obviously, like, she can share more, like, later whenever she's on. But I just think it's really cool how all that played out.
Yes.
And, like,
it's so interesting.
It is. Like, the story itself is, like, I always ask questions. Like, every time I see her, I'm like, okay, wait, let's go back and, like, let's talk about this. Because I think it's so cool the way that it happened.
And she loves talking about it. Like, she's grateful and happy for what has happened.
Obviously, it's a big loss, as it would affect anybody. But at the same time, it's so much fruit that came from it. Because, like, you have Sadie now and, like, our relationship, y'all's relationship, like all of that stuff. And I think that in a way, like, you kind of keep her young and like on her toes. Whereas like Dakota and her are, I mean, she had Dakota how young? 19. So like they're, you know, really close. I'm not saying really close in age, 19 years close in age. Whereas like you are like kind of on the younger side where like you keep her young in a sense. So, like, I think that's a cool dynamic.
Yeah, for sure.
And like my mom wouldn't have your mom, which I think's weird. Like,
I know. I feel like weird. Aunt Cindy, there's a Karen. When there's a Karen, there's an Aunt Cindy.
Yeah. Well, it's Thelma and Louise.
Thelma
they
and
have,
Louise.
Like, their little code names or whatever, which is so funny and cute. But yeah, I think that would be. I'm also grateful and very thankful for the way that it played out, because without that happening, I wouldn't have Sadie in my life. So. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. I'm sure this is not going to be the last time that you're on this, and I'm sure
I'm ready for more.
So yeah, thank you for coming on. I appreciate your honesty and like talking us through relationships, friendships, and can't wait to have your mom on. Maybe we can do like a mom episode where like mom and daughter episode.
Gosh,
that'd be so cool.
I'd be so down.
Yeah, that'd be so cool. Anyways, I love you. Thank you so much for coming on, and I'm sure we're going to see you in the next video.
Yes.
So
for sure.
Peace out.
Love you.